healing with style, off-meta gameplay and builds.
Hey everybody, welcome to Grimsforge Gaming. Today we're going to be going over my Dr. Doom. This is a 2-bar Arcanist build, and I put this together specifically for Infinite Archive, trying to push into the later arcs, especially if you are solo. This has, Arcanist is very durable, but this has the firepower to last and get through those later arcs. And so let's jump in. First thing to note for Infinite Archive, for this particular setup, we are going to be running the Ring of the Pale Order. And Pale Order is basically restore 20% of the damage you deal as health. This value is increased by 4% per ally, decreased by 4% per ally you are grouped with. You cannot be healed by anyone but yourself, your pets, or your companions. So that's important to know. Like if you're jumping into Infinite Archive and your friend that you're running with is a healer, they're not going to be healing you whatsoever, okay? But for this particular playstyle, Pale Order works great. There's so much healing coming in from this ring, it is silly. The first 5-piece set that we are running is Serpent's Disdain, and we have it prismatic. All of our items are divines, or should be, and the 2 pieces max stam, 3 pieces max health, 4 pieces max mag, and then the 5-piece increase the duration of status effects you apply by 16%. So there are some specific buffs that you get in Infinite Archive that buff your status effect damage and your damage over time and everything else. This set is perfect for damage output when you are pushing into the later arcs, okay? So Serpent's Disdain. The thing about that too is like a status effect will stay on a target for 4 seconds. So let's just use our number 3 here. Our number 3 applies 3 separate status effects and a 4th because of the damage type. But watch the damage numbers up by there. You can see 20 seconds counting down. So for the next 20 seconds, we've got those status effects ticking on those status effects on the target. So that's very important, okay? The next set that we have paired it with is a new set from Infinite Archive. Now, if you don't have this set, it's no big deal. There's a lot of other things you compare Serpent's Disdain with, okay? So you can run with I can't even think of the sets right now, but you can run with the one that has them explode for bleeding damage at their death. Why can't I? Macabre. You can run with the Macabre set, and on death, NPCs are going to be exploding for 24k bleed damage around them. So if you gather up everyone, it's very easy to gather everyone up on this build through Rune of Displacement, and you'll gather everything up. They're going to get a big dot on them. Then you're going to drop your status effects on them, and the big bomb, your number 3 elemental explosion. And anyways, this one, the 2 pieces crit chance, 3 pieces weapon and spell damage, 4 pieces weapon and spell damage, and the 5-piece dealing damage with an Arcanist ability applies 2 random status effects to your target. This effect can occur once every 7 seconds. Dealing damage with a Herald of the Tome ability reduces it by a ½ second every 1 second. The thing about it is my primary spammable is in the Herald of the Tome class line. Okay, so escalating Rune Blade, and this is a Crux builder. Now, if you weren't worried about building Crux, you could run with Beam. A lot of people are like, why wouldn't you run Pragmatic Beam? You absolutely could. If you want to gather everything up with Rune of Displacement and then beam them, that's fine. With like no Crux builders, you could do that. But escalating Rune was working fine. The damage output on it is very nice, and its AoE explosion on the last hit builds Crux, so that way whenever I use my shield, it is a maximum strength shield and heal. And so this works out really well for me. And so there's going to be some people who are like, it's so silly to run without Fate Carver in PVE, and you do you. This is working out really well for me. Okay. Yeah. So we've got Serpent's Disdain, and we should have Divines on everything. You can see Divines, and then we've got a one-piece Baron Thirsk for the recoveries. Okay. Also, I believe that we are 3 heavy. Oh, we went more than that. Sorry. We went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 heavy, 1 light, 1 medium. Okay, so a 5-1-1 setup. And I think I might have made an extra one of these to run a 4-2-1 setup. But anyways, we're running 5 heavy, and that probably makes more sense to drive our max health up as high as we can, and our resistance is up. We are at resistance cap. So also another thing too, to continue to drive our health up, we went with healthy on the jewelry, except for our pale order, but this one's healthy and this one's healthy to continue to get our max health up there a little higher. An important thing about this spattering disjunction, we went with a charged to increase the likelihood that we're going to get status effects on, and we're very much, let's get the status effects on the targets, because that's where a lot of our damage comes from. Arc 3 and above. Okay. Another thing about this, or another aspect of it, is we ran with the Inferno staff, because there's 2 passives in the Destro line that are important for this. The first one being this one, fully charged Inferno heavy attacks apply 14,000 flame damage over 20 seconds. So that's an extra dot on the target by running a flame staff heavy attack. Also, that pairs very nicely with one of the damage buffs in Infinite Archive that, well, there's 2 that are based around heavy attacking. You know, one of them applies just a massive bleed target, and the other one does like a full breach on them, so you have 100% penetration against that target, and so that's pretty nice. And then the other one was this one right here. Inferno staffs increase your damage done with damage over time and status effects by 12%. We're leaning into, or doubling down on, our status effects and the damage from those. Now, if you are running Fate Carver, you could run this same setup and you can apply your status effects through Fate Carver and the class abilities there, and Rune of Displacement will apply it, no problem. But if your primary damage source is going to be Fate Carver, you might want to consider a Lightning Staff. Lightning Staffs increase the damage done with direct damage attacks and your channeled effects by 12%, so your Fate Carver is going to hit harder, okay? Whereas the direct damage the direct damage from your number 3 will hit harder, but the dot damage will hit lighter, and your number 2 will hit lighter. So that's something to consider, is like why the flame staff is better. It increases your dot damage, so the dot damage from your number 3 and the dot damage from your number 2 are going to be increased, and from all your status effects, okay? Which is why I went flame staff. But you do you. Another option as well is you can run Frost Staff if you want to be ultra tanky and be able to block a lot of stuff. Most of the time we can shield. We're running double shields on this, and we can just shield up through a lot of things. And we're running Gibbering Shield, or Bubble, right? We can bubble up through a lot of that damage as well. But if you wanted to run an Ice Staff and channel some heavy attacks with the Ice Staff and get the damage shield from the Ice Staff, you could do that as well. A lot of flexibility. We just went with Flame Staff, and it's been working out great. Okay. And on our back bar, a thing about it is we're running Sword and Board. I ran Sword and Board specifically with the thought in mind of being able to return stamina. If you run with Ice Staff, you're going to deplete your mag when you're blocking, right? When you hold block, it eats into your mag, and I wouldn't have a way to regenerate stamina very easily without running Sword and Board on my back bar. So there are times after getting CC'd and having to break free that I need to channel heavy attack with Sword and Board to get that stam back, and that's the reason we went with that, not a Ice Staff. Okay. Prismatic enchants on everything, divines on everything. I guess I ran healthy on that one and healthy on that one for whatever reason, but prismatic works out great on everything. Healthy, and then infused, charged, and some people might be a little worried about our physical penetration being on the low. Hasn't really even been a factor because we're just completely dotting down everything through all these status effects and damage over time effects that we're applying. So you can watch the gameplay video at the end, me running Infinite Archive, and I suspect that you could probably, depending on the verses that you get and whatnot, you could probably push anywhere from between 5 and 8 on this pretty comfortably. I think I went into the 6s on it, but I could picture running it 5 to 8, especially if you had focused efforts and you had a couple of those or more. Like, this thing would really do a lot of damage. So, okay, let's look at the abilities here real quick. We said we're running Escalating Rune Blade. It's going to hit the 3 consecutive magic damage, and it's going to explode for AoE damage. This ability deals 3% increased damage for each active crux too. So if you're just actively building crux and you haven't needed to shield up yet, then you're doing 9% more damage by shooting using this as your primary spammable. We are running Rune of Displacement, and Rune of Displacement has a nice dot damage on it. You put it on a target, it pulls everything within a 10-meter radius right to that target and stacks them all on top of one another. And if you're running with somebody, they can also activate that synergy, which does a big burst of frost damage. We are running Fiery Explosion. This has a really nice upfront tooltip, and then it afflicts the enemies with Burning, Chilled, and Concussed, and afflicts enemies with minor Magicka Steel for 20 seconds, restoring 168 Magicka to the attacker every 1 sec, or magic to attackers every 1 second. So we've just got more sustain coming in from this. Our recoveries on this are actually really nice too. Impervious Rune Ward, there's a 20k upfront shield, which is massive, and then a 10k shield that lasts for 5 seconds. And the first time you take direct damage, your shield retaliates and deals 3100 magic damage to the attacker, scaling off your armor. And consume crux to heal yourself for 3200, almost 3300 health, scaling off your max health per crux spent. So this is a 9 or 10k burst heal as well as a 20k shield, and it returns damage as long as we're operating with full crux from this. Okay. Excuse me. Warding Burst. This is a damage shield. It's about 7,500, scales off your max health, and it's capped at 55% of your max health. Beneficial signature and affix script apply to you or your ally. Heals for 5,300 health over 10 seconds and grants minor courage for 20 seconds. So here's some extra weapon and spell damage hidden in this for the next 20 seconds. I've got a hot coming in, and there's a shield. So the thing about this too is if I'm in a group or a party of people, you'll see this in PvP right now at their intermediate to advanced. A lot of people are like small group wise are running this ability and just throwing shields to each other, and so we're shield stacking and getting minor courage going, and then throwing the big heal on ourselves. This has a hot, this has a hot, also a burst heal. And so between these two things, we don't need to go to our back bar to like shield up or heal for the most part, but we will just to apply minor resolve. You'll see that. Fiery Rage. This has been our preferred ultimate right now. This absolutely shreds things. This flame damage over time, it's like 10k every 1 second when you're fully buffed for 7 seconds. So this is really nice, especially when you can pull everyone into an area, then you can blast them with the Fiery Explosion, and then you can turn around, drop Fiery Rage on them, and everyone's stacked on top of one another dying. So, and for that reason, the way this plays, the Macabre set, if you don't have have spattering yet and you want to run the Macabre set, the Macabre would be the better play while you're farming this set, okay? Because everything's stacked on top of one another and getting absolutely nuked, okay? Make sure you have all your passives, and race-wise we are a Nord because we like the rugged passive. We want to be at resistance cap. We love the extra stamina and the ult gen that comes with Stalwart and the max health. And so Smoked Bear Haunch is our food. Let's look at our back bar. Right now I'm running the gate or the teleport. I wish I could make this thing work for PvP, but it's stationary wherever you cast it at, and usually when you're casting a teleport and trying to create space, I'm not trying to go back to that spot where I was just at. And so for that reason, that's exactly why you don't see a lot of people using this. If they were to make it function like Streak, you would see a lot more people use it. It just doesn't function like Streak, and so you're either going back and forth through the portals. It also creates a line of sight issue targeting wise for you, since it's got this large animation to it. I don't know which way I'm going to go morph wise on it. This was more for flavor, and you could run whatever you want. This is flex. We are running Inspired Scholarship here. This is additional damage when we activate it. The thing about this is I don't even need to activate it to get to my Major Brutality, Major Sorcery buff. You just put this on your bar and you got Major Sorcery and Major Brutality. So you don't need to spend the extra 4,300 to get this. Crux Weaver's armor is our armor buff. If anyone attacks us, they're going to receive minor breach. So there's an extra 3k pin on the 3,500 that we have base pin wise, okay? And this gives us our major resolve buff. Here's our minor resolve buff and our heal over time through resolving vigor. And if we have been building Crux and we want a kind of a burst heal or a heal that I can throw out to other people, Evolving Rune Mend is the way I can heal other people. And then you can see on our back bar we're running Sanctum of the Abyssal Sea, which is our huge bubble. And a lot of people don't realize that this thing is also a lot of damage. The tentacles form a damage shield that absorbs 60% of all damage for 10 seconds. Up to a maximum of 83,000 damage, scaling off your max health. When the shield collapses, you lash out, dealing all the damage absorbed as magic damage to the enemy within 5 meters over 10 seconds. So basically, let's assume that you're just standing in in all the red and all the bad stuff with this thing up, and you hit that 83,000 cap damage on the shield, and the shield busts. Over the next 10 seconds, you're going to do 83,000 damage to everyone within this AoE around you. Okay, everyone that's within that radius around you, and you'll be able to see it on the ground, they're going to be receiving 83,000 damage. In PvP, this is also a slept-on ability. A lot of people kind of use it as an oh no button, but you can use it as an offensive button. I'll link at the end my Harry Potter BG, and you can see someone actually had Zons, and Zons latched onto me, and I just hit this, and of course they can't deactivate Zons. Zons is just, you know, laser beaming into me, and they also didn't see that they didn't see the bubble, and they cast a meteor on me. So I'm laughing because I'm like, man, when this thing pops, they're dead. These people are dead. And sure as could be, the thing popped and they died within the first 2 or 3 seconds of this thing returning all the damage that they had done. So I like this skill a lot. Allows you to face tank a lot of damage. So okay. As far as attributes, we're 62 in a mag, and let's look at the stats here real quick. You can see we're cap resistances on our back bar, our sword and board bar, and then on our front bar, we're at 27,000 mag recovery, 1,400 health, 1800, almost 1900 stam recovery. Our spell damage is only 4100, does not matter. Our spell critical is only 15%, does not matter. And our spell pen is 3600, does not matter. Front bar, we're 26,000, almost 27,000 resistances, which is pretty good. And then the crit resistance doesn't matter in PVE. We are running, excuse me, the Atronach, which is almost it's over 500 mag recovery. So that's why our mag recovery is so high. I do think that we need this level of mag recovery because of the abilities on our bar. This is a mag expense. This is stam. This is a mag expense, mag expense, mag expense. So we only have one stamina dump on our front bar, okay? Mag expense, mag expense, mag expense, stamina, and mag. Okay, so we've only got a couple stamina expenses, but everything else is mag, and we just really kind of need that mag recovery to manage that. Another thing too, going back to the flame staff, it's worth your time to channel a flame staff heavy attack to get the dot from the flame staff and get mag back in the tank. But there are times where you're just light attacking and rune blading, light attacking, rune blading in between getting these things off. So definitely stick to the end, click on the link, watch the Infinite Archive gameplay of Dr. Doom. So right now he's probably my go-to if somebody said, hey, I want to run Infinite Archive and they're wanting to push to later arcs, he's what I would jump on. Okay, and then probably arc 3 and above, I start to rarely use this unless I'm running with someone and they're kind of face tanking everything, and I end up relying more on this, the sustain or durability from it, and the damage that comes from it. Also, we're running Steve Rogers' shield on our back bar, and we're running Mjolnir as if Dr. Doom defeated the Avengers and took their weapons. Super funny. So let's jump in, look at the CP here. We're running Steed's Blessing, Rationer, Treasure Hunter, and this could be if you're spending a lot of time in Cyrodiil or riding a mount or whatever. These last two you could just run these two, Gifted Rider and War Mount, instead of Master Gatherer and Treasure Hunter. In the blue tree, Untamed Aggression, Wrathful Strikes, Master at Arms, and Thaumaturge. Thaumaturge is very important on this, and that's an extra 6% damage over time to all of our damage over time effects, status effects, and stuff like that. So pick up Thaumaturge, you'll notice it. And then make sure you grab these last two fields in here. There's 100 extra weapon and spell damage hidden in there. Okay. We are running Rejuvenation for extra recoveries. We're running Boundless Vitality for more health, Celerity for 10% extra movement speed, and Thrill of the Hunt, which gives us Major Expedition for 6 seconds after a kill. So in Infinite Archive, when we're killing the trash mobs and weaving in and out of bad stuff and everything, we're usually moving at Major Expedition speed as things are dying. So this works out really well. I like playing this with a lot of speed. So make sure you get this one right here too for an extra 560 health. So that is it. Smoked Bear Haunch is the play as well, and this effect on my arms is actually from the Spattering Disjunction armor set from Infinite Archive, which looks actually very Doctor Strange using the Time Stone, but I thought that's a really, really cool animation. They did a great job with it. So let's go down here. We're going to look at what styles we're using for everyone. This helm is called the Grim Harlequin helm. My shoulders are called the Reawakened Hierophant Epaulettes. That they're actually one of the armor sets from Infinite Archive. The chest armor is Arcthzand Armor Cuirass, and so this is the heavy armor version, and I think it's the medium armor version where this is right in the middle, and I use that for Tony Stark. It looks just like his armor, and we'll have a Tony Stark coming out. I'm still working on his build right now. And the gloves are the Dremora Kindreave gauntlets. The belt is Aldmeri Sash. Doesn't really matter. Zifkin Greaves. Those look pretty good with an armor type setup. And the Dremora Kinreave Sabatons that match the gloves. Works out really well. And we're running the Gloombound Staff and the Gloombound Swords. Like if you want to run a Star Wars themed lightsaber or whatever, the Gloombound weapons pack is what you're wanting. And then on the back bar, this Mjolnir is actually the ancestral Nord mace, and the shield is the Yukuden shield. It's round. I wish it's too bad this didn't have a star. That would have been awesome. It absolutely would have been Steve Rogers for sure, but this is as close we could get. But yeah, so that is my Doctor Doom, and this is the PVE. I will be playing around with this and creating a PvP, but if you want a PvP something for Arcanist that has a similar play style, go pick up or go check out here at the end, check out my Harry Potter gameplay. So watching gameplay is very important to see if that type of play style is something that interests you. You might find that you've been a Fate Carver person and you find out that Fate Carver works great for PvE, but in PvP it's really hard hitting people with it, and escalating rune blades in PvP is way more forgiving. These things are just like heat seekers and turn corners and hit people even when they're trying to line of sight you and all kinds of stuff. So this has kind of been the play, plus the splash damage from it. It's building Crux, so that way we get a burst heal and a big shield. So this has been working out really, really well. Okay, so that's it. Dr. Doom PvE version right here. You guys be safe out there. Bye.